Welcome to The Runner Soul. This is the podcast where running meets science, stride by stride. And I'm Sharon Miller, your podiatrist and one-time foot guru. And I'm here to give you tips and hints to make you run stronger, faster, smarter.
One of the reasons is because when you keep giving and giving and giving and giving to people, they tend to become entitled.
Yes.
And the moment they become entitled, complacency sets in. When complacency sets in, they start taking you for granted. And once they start taking you for granted, anything you do will no longer be valuable to them, because now it will lose the appreciation that it needs. Now, once it loses the appreciation that it needs, you, the one who is doing the giving, start feeling unrecognized, start feeling unappreciated, and then you start feeling unseen, and then you start feeling all the negative emotions that you can imagine, because now the people that you're sacrificing for are not appreciating your sacrifice, and eventually you start burning out. Eventually you start withdrawing, and that is where now some kind of mental illnesses start setting in. So you are with the person, you are with the people, but you are feeling lonely, you are feeling depressed, you are feeling dissociated from the people. So it's very important for us to also learn self-care. I say that love is not selflessness per se. Love is self-care plus selflessness. They have to work hand in hand.
Yes,
So
I
please go
agree.
on.
Because it's like, people will only treat you the way you expect them to treat you. So you have to set the standard. You can't wait and think, oh, well, if I'm really nice to them, they'll be really nice back to me, because that is just not how it works at all. You have to
100%.
have that like respect for yourself. And when you
Yeah,
have that respect for yourself, people have to step up.
yeah, indeed. And you realize that in many cases, people treat you the way you treat yourself.
Absolutely.
There's a saying that says that you are addressed the way you are dressed. And so basically people treat you the way you treat yourself. Let me give you an example. If you want to give a gift to the prime minister, will you just give him an ordinary gift?
No.
How long is it going to take you to plan that gift?
Absolutely. Yeah. Good point.
How much is it going to cost you for that gift? But if you have to gift your next door neighbor, how long would it take you in comparison to the prime minister? And what is the reason? Because you see the prime minister as high there.
He's high value.
Exactly, high value. Which is to say that if you place a high value on yourself, people will place that value on you. And it shows in how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, how you smell, how you carry yourself, especially in the presence of people. That will make them determine whether you are a high valued person or not. And they will treat you exactly how you present yourself or less.
Do you think that has something to do with, when people have affairs, when people cheat on the other person? Do you think that has something to do with it? Because it's like, well, I'm going to have, I'm going to taste the fruit of another, but she'll be okay about it. She'll be all right. She'll forgive me. Whereas if you were with somebody that you felt was high value, that, oh my God, I have one step wrong and this girl could have, or boy, this man could have anyone that they wanted. I better step up. You know what I mean? I better do whatever it takes to keep them. You're not going to cheat, and you're not going to like play around.
Yeah. When it comes to cheating has a lot of dynamics to it. cheating has lots of dynamics. It has cultural impact or cultural undertone, traditional undertone, religious undertone. It has issues with self-confidence. It has issues with society and all those things. So when it comes to cheating, it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all thing, especially when it comes to men. Because remember, to a number of men, when they get to a certain class and a certain stage of life, they feel like having multiple women is part of the class. It's part of the, you have a girl that you go to functions with and all that. So that has effect. Certain traditions do not see anything wrong with it when a man has multiple women because they feel like it's a man's thing. That's why they will even compare it to the animal world and say, see one lion with several lionesses and all that. They have all those anecdotes. However,
but in our culture, in the Western world, it's expected one man, one woman. And so
exactly,
when
when it
that
comes to,
person cheats, it's
yeah,
such a big thing. For some people, they never get over it. They can be, hurt for 10, 20, 30 years. I can think of somebody that I know, an older person, who could not forgive that her husband had cheated. And then it became a case of, you can never mention that person. He wasn't allowed to go to any of the grandkids' weddings, any of the parties, any of the family gatherings. And, that feud went on till the day they died, basically.
that is also uh, the extreme. It is
Yes.
extreme because I believe that in as much as none of us will condone cheating, sometimes people make genuine mistakes. Of course, you will say that, oh, cheating, you planned it and whatever, whatever. But sometimes people overlook certain things. And sometimes people only see the impact of what they have done after they've done it.
Yes.
Sometimes you are unable to you are unable to assess the impact of your actions until it happens. Many of times, even when it comes to architectural drawings, you can have all the architectural drawings, but when you go on ground, you may meet something different. And by the time it's done, it may either be more beautiful than you had it planned, or it may even be less beautiful than it was planned. So sometimes we need to give room for forgiveness. And that's why I always talk about the fact that you don't judge people by the individual situations and mistakes that they commit. You
No,
judge people by the patterns, the consistency of what they do. That is how you judge them. Now, when it comes to cheating, back to cheating again, another twist of it where I was going is you need to also set your boundaries. Your partner needs to know where you stand when it comes to certain conditions and certain situations of the relationship. And that is where I talk about uncommunicated expectations. Many a times we don't communicate our expectations, but we expect the person to know. So set boundaries.
Yes, but shouldn't the parties? It's like people say, "Oh, I only give two chances," or "I'll only give three chances." But like for me, I think I give a person should only need one chance, because if they have broken that, then they have shown their character. That's all you need to know about them, really.
Not really. I usually do not agree with that. And I don't agree with that
Yeah, but that's
because
just because you're a man.
not really about because I'm a man. I'm a humane person. I think both sides and I think humanity. I don't usually agree with that because I believe that, like I said earlier, people make genuine mistakes. Sometimes somebody may even love you. Remember, for example, we have the saying that the grass is greener on the other side.
Absolutely, till you get
And
there.
sometimes, yeah, until you get there, exactly. So now the person has you as a wife or as a husband, and yet the person is feeling like, the grass is growing on the other side. The grass is growing on the other side. Now they get to the other side, then they realize that no, it's not really as green as I was
Just,
seeing it.
it's
As a
just
matter
the
of
same
fact,
grain.
where I was better. So sometimes a person could even love you more after they cheat because they realize that I thought it was going to be something special, but I now realize that it's ordinary. In fact, I even feel guilty. I feel filthy for doing it. So I'm no longer going to do it. But sometimes, as long as the person has not done it, there is that thing that is pulling them. Because it's human curiosity sometimes. That's why I say when it comes to cheating, it's multifaceted. And remember that when it comes to cheating, there is no statistics that shows that men cheat more than women or women cheat more than men.
No, because if a man cheats, who's he cheating with? It's going to be a woman,
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
it's got to be some
Exactly.
50-50.
The only thing is that men are ridiculous cheaters, so they get caught.
Yes.
And women are
You're not as
strategic
smart
cheaters.
as you think you are.
Exactly. And that's where sometimes I have a challenge when men say, women are emotional beings and men are logical beings. Are you sure? If you are really not logical, how did you get caught?
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're really logical, how did you get caught? Because if you're really logical, you could have made all the calculations so you don't get caught. If
So
you're really logical, why are you throwing tantrums?
how would a couple go about if, say, there has been cheating? How would they go about then? Like, do you feel that you can repair that relationship? You can repair that trust? Is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible because number one, you need to realize that to err is human. You also make mistakes. And what is a deal breaker for you may not be a deal breaker for someone. And what is a deal breaker for someone may not be a deal breaker for you. Let me give you a practical example. I can easily forgive cheating.
Really?
Oh, yes, easily. I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's
no,
not
I couldn't.
Yes.
No, I couldn't.
But
The
I
only
cannot
way
easily.
I could forgive cheating is like, right, well, I'll go cheat and then we'll both be on the same par and see. So what it feels
And
like.
who are you doing? You are doing your own stuff, because if you go cheating, it's not the person's body, it's your body.
Yes.
So for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I could easily forgive cheating because I consider a lot of factors.
Yes.
I don't just take it like, oh, she's going to cheat and blah, 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 blah. No, I consider factors before I take a decision. That's number one. But what I don't easily forgive, which I still do forgive, is lying.
Yes.
Especially when I ask you about it.
Yeah.
Because
you look somebody in the eye.
Exactly.
And
Because I
just
think so
blatantly
far.
tell a lie.
Exactly. And especially when you lie about small things.
Yes.
And remember what I said earlier, I deal with patterns. I deal with consistency of matters, not the individual matters. So if my woman should cheat once, I'll consider the factors and I'll give the benefit of doubt. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe I wasn't doing my job well. Maybe she thought the grass was greener on the other side. Maybe I'll give myself all the factors and I'll be like, you know what? I also make mistakes.
But I want to ask
maybe
a question. If you did forgive somebody, would you still have that same magic? Would the magic still be there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Let me give you an example. Many years ago, this was around 2008, 2009, thereabout. My fiancé cheated, and I got to know firsthand from the one he cheated with, from the one she cheated with, sorry. And I put it to her. When I put it to her, this is the exact words I said to her. I told her that the vagina is washable. You finished, you washed it. If this person did not tell me, I wouldn't have known that you've even going to do anything. So for me, it's not a big deal. It's the vagina doesn't have a depreciation quantity.
But I think it's more about the emotional. It's like, say, for instance,
yeah, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. It doesn't have the depreciation, quantity. It can still be used for whatever. So what I want from you is to give me an assurance that it's not going to happen again. It's not a pattern. It's not something that you're going to continue. I want to assume that it's a mistake. I want to assume that you were taken off by something or whatever. So just give me an assurance that it's not going to happen again. Right? Now, later on in the months ahead, I did not get that assurance from her actions and from her attitude, so I had to break up with her. It means that if I'd gotten the assurance from her actions and attitude, I would have continued the relationship with her.
Yes.
That is me.
I guess when you know, don't you know that
Exactly.
it's
exactly.
not
So
there.
that's me.
Commitment's not there.
That's me, because I don't act based on emotions. I act based on reasoning. That's how I live my life.
But as like some women might look at things, it's like, you're committing yourself to somebody, and so you want to know that that person has your back, because you're going to have children together. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be bereavement, and you just want to know that you have that trust, that person, is committed.
Let me blow your mind. A person
You're blowing it already.
Exactly. A person can cheat and still remain committed to you. A person can cheat and still remain loyal to you. A person can cheat and still play all their functions perfectly with you. Because, like I said, when it comes to cheating, it has to do with a lot of factors. The only problem is society has enhanced certain things so much that we don't even think through. They want, he cheated, she cheated, but when you ask, but what exactly is the problem? Oh, I'm hurt, I'm broken, I'm tarnished. But why are you really hurt? Why are you really broken? They'll not be able to tell you. Because society has projected this in such a way that we become unnecessarily sentimental and emotional about some things.
But I guess the hurt is that you thought that person was one person. You had this sort of invisible contract, per se, with that person, because you are this person, and this is what I'll be getting from this relationship. Then this person cheats. You break. He or she, women cheat as well. And then they break down that sort of, trust.
And that's what the problem is, invisible contract.
They become then more, it's like you start seeing them, they're a different person, you're not who I thought you were.
I find that, I don't know, but for me, like I said, I'm not promoting cheating anyway. But remember, the fact remains that we all make mistakes in life. You make mistakes. And what you consider, oh yes, you do. What you consider a lesser mistake is a deal breaker for someone.
Yes. So
I have seen people who broke up, that like the marriages got destroyed just because when the woman dresses the bed, she tucks the bed sheets in. And the man wants the bed sheets to flow. And they just couldn't understand each other on that, and they got divorced.
Just get two beds.
I had issues. I handled issues where the man felt offended because the woman used his toothbrush.
Yes, but was it really about that? Or was it not? That was like, sometimes there are excuses, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's because of that. But it wasn't really. It was because it was, it's like women, for instance.
No, it was because of the toothbrush. Because for him, don't touch my toothbrush. Don't use my toothbrush. It's And so I asked him, are you crazy? Are you thinking straight?
But how a woman's mind though works is quite often when they have left the relationship, like physically left, that's not when they've left the relationship. They've actually mentally, emotionally left. It could have been like a couple of years, because it's like, it's not one thing. It's all those disappointments. It's, forgetting their birthday. It's, not doing what they asked. It's, not listening,
no,
not supporting.
External.
So it's,
That's external. That's why I talk about the partings. You remember, that's external. That one happens to both parties, not just the woman. There are a lot of men who have checked out of their relationships, but they're just there for duty's sake.
But I think men, they tend to have somebody lined up. I don't know many men who leave because I'm not happy. So I'll leave this relationship and I'll go and I'll learn and grow who I am. They tend to have somebody lined up. So get this, I'm not happy, but I've got somebody else.
A lot of women are also doing it. A lot of women are doing it, just that because society frowns on a woman cheating, a lot of women do it discreet. But a lot of women are sleeping behind their husbands. I know a number of women, because of what I do as a counselor, I hear things that a lot of people will not hear. I
But
know a lot of women who are
it's
married
sad.
to their husbands and they are sleeping with women.
Right.
They are still married to their husbands and they are sleeping with other women.
Well, I guess a man wouldn't mind that. He'd be saying, yes, like, just get her to come and join us.
No, a man minds a lot. A man minds. I know a lot of women, or a number of women, who are married and they're still sleeping with other men. But they do it so discreet that you will never notice, because remember, they still perform their role as wives. They still cook, they still clean, they still take care of the kids, they still perform conjugal duties with their husbands, but they are sleeping around. In fact, I know a number of them who are sleeping with Ben 10s, guys younger than them.
But, I think, the problem is society has broken down, and we don't realize it's kind of like, in a relationship, I don't like the way she did cheats, and I don't like the way she does this, and I don't like the way she does that. So it's kind of like you're leaving a relationship, you're leaving these problems behind. You think you're leaving these problems behind, but then you go into another relationship, and in actual fact, you're just taking on different different problems, more problems, maybe even bigger problems. And it's the children, people don't understand, it's the children who, they then suffer, when a couple break up.
The challenge is this. When it comes to cheating is multifaceted. There is no one reason why somebody cheats. There's no one reason. For instance, when it comes to men, there are a number of men who will cheat because they've already checked out of the marriage. And psychologically, emotionally, they've checked out. So after work, they'll rather hang out with, boys in the club, hang out with another girl than come home. So they are in the marriage. They are still paying the bills, but they've checked out from the marriage. There are also women who are in the marriage, but they've also checked out of the marriage, but they are there. So emotionally, psychologically, they've checked out. So there are a number of homes that they are sleeping on the same bed, but for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, they've not had conjugal duties. Some of them 1 year, 2 years, because both of them have checked out, but for paying mortgage together, for the children, for society, and for whatever reason, they are living together. So when it comes to cheating, I would always encourage people, let's divorce the sentiments and the emotions from cheating. Let's approach it reasonably. Because sometimes, whether we like it or not, you, the one being cheated upon, you are a contributing factor to why the other party is cheating. Let me give this example and I'm going to shut up. Sometimes, especially in my society, a woman is not really it's changing, but before, a woman is not really expected to express herself when it comes to sex. So she cannot tell the man, I like it this way and I like it that way. When she does, she's considered a prostitute. Where did you learn that? Why do you want that? Right? So now she's not satisfied.
Yes.
But she cannot communicate. She just lay down like a log. The man does his thing and then gets up, turns his face to the wall and then does it. But she's not satisfied. Which means if by chance, by mistake or by luck or by whatever, she gets under another man who satisfies her, what's going to happen? She's going to be going to that man from time to time for the satisfaction. Now, who caused it? Even though she should have chosen to either leave the marriage before doing it, but sometimes for whatever reason, for society reason, for bills reason, for the children's reason, for whatever reason, she cannot leave the marriage. So she will be cheating, and still maintain the marriage so that the man will not stop paying the children's school fees. So that the man, because in our society, a lot of men can be very mean. They can be very vindictive. That's one reason why we have a lot of single parenting homes. Once the relationship is broken, they will refuse to take care of the children. They refuse to take care or pay their fees. So a lot of women sacrifice themselves for some of these reasons. So when it comes to cheating, we need to approach it from some of these angles so that we understand it. Once we understand, then we can solve some of these problems.
Yes, I agree. And I guess that's where people like yourself come into it, because maybe the couple is at breaking point. They say, we'll just break up and it's going to be great. I'll go off with this lovely woman I found. She's 10 years younger. My life's going to be wonderful. So it's good to be able to, have some counseling, have some coaching to see the big picture, because there's things that you won't have thought of. Like men don't realize that maybe they won't actually ever see their children again.
Yeah.
That they won't be going to
their
weddings. They won't be going to, they won't be there for the children's 18th birthday. They won't be there for the milestones. They won't know their grandchildren. They don't know what a big sacrifice they're going to be making. It's not just, a one-night stand or a little bit of fun, because everything has its consequences.
Yeah, indeed. And that is why for me, I always propose a different approach. And a lot of people do not understand it because the approach that I propose is too realistical or is too real. People want to hold on to sentiments, to emotions, to religious belief systems and all that. People do not want to face practicality and reality. That's what the challenge is.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
What if somebody, man or woman, cheats and you forgive them and you work together, you try and make things better, give them more sex or whatever, and then at a later date they cheat again? Do you have an advocate where you think, okay, well, everyone deserves one chance, but then if they do it again and again and again, you've got to, draw the line? Or do you just think, people just see too much into like sex and, make it a big deal than it is?
Yeah, as I've said earlier, it's all about the patterns, because the patterns is what reveals behavior. The patterns is what reveals respect, value, honor. It's about the patterns, not about individual actions. So, like we say, I don't know if you say it in the Western world, but like we say in many parts of Africa, first fool is not a fool. Second fool is not a fool. Third fool, you are the greatest fool who ever lived. It means that you need to give considerations. You need to give the benefit of doubt. You need to allow room for people to correct their mistakes and for people to learn, because we are all in a learning curve. Sometimes we learn from our mistakes. It is only, I don't know if there's ever everybody on this, I don't know if there's ever anyone on this earth who doesn't make mistakes. The problem is not about making mistakes. The problem is about learning from your mistakes. Because if we don't make mistakes, then there will not be a need for forgiveness. And every one of us, no matter our age or our age notwithstanding, are a learning progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, not even learning progress. We are a work in progress.
Work in progress.
We grow as we learn, and we learn as we grow.
And even when you're 80 years old, 80, 90, you think, oh, I've nothing to learn, but you're learning something every day. Exactly. You're learning something new every day. Learning things about yourself all the time.
Exactly. When I was younger, I always wondered why professors and all these old men, 90-year-old men, 95-year-old women are always reading. You go to their houses and they have a plethora of books hanging everywhere, and they are always reading. And I wonder, do you need the knowledge for? Like, you're 95, you're going to die soon. What do you need the reading for? But then as I grow, I realized that the more you know that you don't know. and the more you want to know.
Absolutely.
It means that you can never stop learning.
No, because it doesn't matter how old you are. What I've learned is you always have some contribution to make to the world. And you could be doing that through your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. You could be there as an inspiration to them, helping them make better choices, having the benefit of your wisdoms, of your experience.
You can never stop learning. Learning is an everyday thing, and you cannot know everything. You cannot know it. You cannot be the full repertoire of wisdom and of understanding. We learn every day. It is only a fool. It's only a fool who feels that they have arrived. But a wise man always feels that there is more to learn, and that is life. And once you have such an attitude, it makes it easier for you to forgive, because you know you also make mistakes. You also step on toes. And as I said earlier, what is the thing that is a deal breaker to you may not be a deal breaker to someone. And the thing that is a deal breaker for someone may not be a deal breaker for you. So to you, it's just a little white lie, but for someone, that white lie is a deal breaker.
Yes.
For you, cheating is not a big deal, but for someone, it's a world crushing. This is why healthy communication is very important, so that the both of you will communicate your expectations from time to time, because you cannot remember all your expectations at one go. During the beginning of the relationship, I like this and I don't like that. No, as you progress, there are things you realize about yourself that you also need to communicate. So we need to leave the channels of healthy communication always open, and we need to always communicate our expectations. Once the person is clear with your expectations, then how they treat you is not going to be ambiguous.
Unfortunately, a lot of couples, they seek advice after the event, whereas I believe you should have this, before you get married, there should be a course or a workshop whereby you can, thrash everything out and find out exactly what that other person's expectation of you is. Because then if their expectation of you is not, that you can't give them that expectation, then I think it would solve a lot of problems. Because if say a couple does a workshop and we talk about expectations, and then the man goes, oh, well, I just love a woman who takes care of me and cooks for me. And if you can cook what my mama used to cook and you did it. And then the girl's thinking, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be living that role, because, I want to build a business and I want to write books, and, I want to be somebody. So then you have a chance to know from the outset, instead of making a commitment, bringing children into the world, it all gets very messy.
I am a firm advocate for that. I have a book that I'll be publishing in the near future titled "The 6 Killer Diseases of Every Relationship," and one of the fundamental killers of relationships is uncommunicated expectations, and the other is unrealistic expectations. I believe in that. However, you cannot fully communicate your expectations from the beginning of the relationship, no matter how many conferences you attend, no matter how many counseling sessions you attend, because remember, we are all a work in progress. We don't know ourselves fully. We know ourselves as we go.
Of course you don't know fully, but I just feel that it would give you an indication of, because sometimes emotionally you think you're compatible. When you meet, you have great sex, it's all funny, everything that they say, you're hanging on their every word. And then reality kicks in at a later date. And then suddenly, the attraction, it's not as...
That is not really about expectations. That is about moving with fantasies instead of reality. What happens is that, and that's why I was saying that it's not really about the expectations. The expectations, like I said, you need to communicate your expectations. But no amount of conferences and counseling sessions prepares you fully for the relationship, because you are also learning yourself. You are grooming yourself, and
nothing can prepare you fully for anything, really. Really, absolutely nothing, because the reality is always very different. But what I'm talking about is, a woman will be more attracted to a man. Their attraction will be strong if her needs are being met. It's like the love languages. It's like we love somebody how we want to be loved ourselves, but somebody might have a different love language to you, and I guess that's a good thing to discuss.
And that is why I'm saying that it's not really about the communicated expectations, because you cannot communicate all your expectations from the beginning of the relationship.
No,
you don't know yourself fully. You know yourself as you grow. You know yourself as you build. That is number one. Number two, there are some actions that would bring out reactions from you. And until those actions come out, you may not know how you're going to react to those actions. And some of those actions will only come on in the course of the relationship. What you need to know from the beginning of the relationship is the person's belief systems. What controls the person? What moves the person? Because the person's fundamental belief system determines the person's moral ground, or the moral high ground, determines how the person thinks, determines the person's principles, determines what the person will do and not do. So when you meet someone during the early stages, and you know that this person has a very high moral ground, then you know that there is a very slim chance that this person will ever cheat, because they have high moral grounds. Even though they may cheat, but there is a very slim chance. If you meet someone in the person's belief system, they don't have any morality, then you know that there's a higher chance that they cannot even be loyal to you. Now, this thing you can only determine with time, because you cannot know the person's belief system just when you meet the person in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 4 months. It takes time.
I think there are always signs, you know what I mean? It's like even something simple, like how do they treat the waitress? There's always those little signs, isn't there, that tells you the character of the person you're with.
Then again, that's what we are being told, but it's not always true. Because remember, that very moment, the person may treat the waitress bad because the person has had a bad day. The person has been angered by something on their way. And that's why I keep saying that you watch the patterns and not the singular incidences that the person does. Because on the person's way to the date, someone may have roughed the person badly. So the person is still in a bit of a high tense, hyper kind of thing. And so what the waitress did became a trigger. And so they overly reacted the way they reacted. But on a normal day, the person may not be like that. So you watch the patterns, you watch the person's belief system. These are things that we are being told every day, which is literally destroying relationships, destroying lives. They say, oh, watch the way the person treats the waitress on a date. Yes, but did you consider the fact that the person may have had a rough day on their way coming?
Yeah, but you can't judge one thing in isolation. There obviously has to be other things. It's like everything's a puzzle, isn't it?
Yes,
it's like the jigsaw puzzle. That's just one part of the jigsaw puzzle. But is the rest of the jigsaw puzzle also similar?
Yes, indeed. But a lot of people are judging people in isolation. In fact, the majority of us judge people in isolation. We see someone on the street doing something, and immediately we judge the person. We see a young girl wearing miniskirt with a belly button showing, immediately she's a prostitute. We see somebody, we judge people in isolation all the time. We judge people without knowing them. We don't give ourselves the chance, the time, and opportunity to know people. That is where the problem is.
But can
you see someone wearing a suit in tie, looking all handsome, and immediately, oh, he's a professional. He is such a gentleman. But that person may be pretending for that day. On a normal day, the person is very ugly. But on that day, because of that particular function, they put on a nice suit. Maybe that is even the first day they are putting on the suit and the tie. But immediately, you judge them by that. Immediately you conclude. And this is where it is, this thing of love at first sight. That's where it becomes dangerous. Love at first sight means you are judging the person at first sight without getting to know what moves the person.
And it's more chemical, isn't it? When it's that attraction, that foresight, it's, chemicals.
Because you are judging the person at first sight. You concluded on who the person is just by sight. And that's why I'm saying, and I keep hammering, that you judge people by patterns. So you give yourself time and chance to get to know the person before you judge the person. This is one of the reasons why in the court of law they say what? Innocent until proven guilty. Why? They will have to judge the patterns that led to that
the
action.
Evidence. You've got to see
Exactly.
the DNA.
Exactly. So you realize that the evidence will show whether it was premeditated,
Yes.
or it was on the whim, or it was due to mental illness. But with us, the court of public opinion, we just meet someone 2 minutes and we've already judged the person. That is what the problem is. And this is why it's having effect on many marriages and many relationships, because we conclude on who the person is right from the day one. And this is where it happens when they talk about love bombing and all that. We hold on to the first memories. So even when the person is showing us their true character, we are still holding on to how they made us feel within the first few days and few weeks we met them. Meanwhile,
Yes.
the person is showing us their true nature,
Yes,
because we did not give ourselves the time to watch the patterns.
Yes. Very interesting, isn't it?
It is. And that's why I'm always advocating that let us move away from sentiments. Let us move away from religious beliefs and cultural beliefs and all that. Let us question the status quo, the things we have believed. It is one of the reasons I wrote the book, The 100 Myths of Love and Relationships, because there are so many things that we have been told about love and relationships that are myths. They are not true. They are influenced by sentiments and religion and culture, but in reality, they are not true.
But do you feel like society, like I've got a lot of friends who are single, and they seem like, they're
your friends
happy
are
single.
Okay, I have friends who are single too.
No, but what I mean is they want to be single.
No, I mean, we need to start pairing them. We need to start matching them.
Well, I do like to do that as a sort of a hobby. I've got a 75%
success rate.
Yes, success rate.
Yeah, so let's start matching them, because I've also got friends who are single. So you've got friends, let's start pairing them together.
No, but the sort of point I'm trying to make is, do you feel like, it used to be like, you had this fairy tale, I'll meet the one and it'll be so wonderful. We'll wake up together, he'll kiss me and it'll be all wonderful. Whereas now people are like, hey, you know what? I actually prefer to be by myself. I can do what I want. I don't have to compromise. I don't have to, tuck the sheets in a certain way, or I don't have to, watch the football.
My book, maybe we need to rethink what love is, which is the volume 1 of many volumes which will be coming in the near future. The volume 1 talks about the fantasy we were sold.
Yes.
That's the
but
volume
it's also
1 of
the societal fantasy that if you are not married, there's something wrong with you. If you don't want to be with somebody, there's something wrong with you. When in actual fact, you're probably happy and content and you're having all your needs met yourself.
That is not necessarily societal fantasy. That is societal stigmatization. Now, the fantasy we were sold has to do with the happy ever after notion, where we've been sold this notion through movies, through cartoons, through whatever, that marriage is this beautiful thing where once you get in, it's all about kisses and hugs and roses. In songs, in movies, that is what has been portrayed. So people go into marriages or romantic relationships not expecting arguments, not expecting disagreements, not expecting bad times, people going to it with happily ever after kind of mindset. That's a fantasy we're sold. And so when they step into the marriage and they are now faced with the disagreements, where they are now not seeing eye to eye, immediately they conclude that she doesn't love me. He doesn't love me. She was only in for my money. It was only in for my body. So that is the thing that start running in their mind. So many a times, right from the beginning of the relationship gets damaged.
Yes, but
And then they stay because of the stigma of society. Because society frowns on divorce. Because for a lot of women, divorce is failure. Because a lot of women have been raised to see marriage as the ultimate achievement. And so we need to move away from the fantasy of marriage into the reality of marriage to realize that as long as you are two individuals coming into the marriage, you are going to have arguments. It's not always going to be breakfast in bed. It's not always going to be roses. Sometimes you are literally going to fight. But the fight does not mean you don't love each other. The fight means you disagree. And you need to find a way to settle that fight, separate the relationship from the disagreement, meet halfway, and then continue to build a relationship. That is the reality of marriage.
Yes, I guess that's why a lot of the older generation say, when you ask them for some advice about, relationships and marriage, they say, don't go to sleep without kissing each other and making up if you've had an argument, because then you've put what's happened today, where it's meant to be, and tomorrow you start afresh.
And that is not realistic either.
That's not realistic, I know.
It's not realistic because if I'm angry, allow me to deal with my anger. Don't force me to kiss me.
Absolutely. But for some couples, if they don't resolve things, you've got to resolve things before you kiss and make up. You've got to agree to disagree. You've got to, compromise. You've got to say, okay, well, this time I will do that, but I want you to do this. You've got to have a resolution. But also, don't carry things from one day to the next, to the next, to the next, so that you are in a huff for a week.
Yeah. And that's
just because you didn't get what you wanted.
And that's one reason why a lot of women are broken in their marriages, because they want the situation to be addressed, but the man brushes it under the corner. Feels like, the father I bought you a rose, everything should be fine. When a woman wants the situation to be addressed properly, but in them trying to get accountability, they are seen as they are nagging.
Yes.
You understand? So when I am angry, allow me to process my anger. Don't force me to be huggy, touchy, feely. No, my anger does not mean that I hate you. My anger does not mean that I hate the relationship. My anger means that I don't like what was done. I want us to address what was done. I want us to make a commitment to each other that it will not be repeated, so that we have an understanding of the way forward, and then we can move on. Don't expect me to brush it under the carpet. I can ignore a lot of things because, like I told you, I try to be a reasonable person. I give a lot of benefit of doubt. So there are a lot of things I will see that I will process in my own mind and not even bring it to your attention. But with the moment I bring it to your attention, it means that I want it to be addressed, so that we make a commitment for it not to repeat. Now, if it's not addressed, don't force me to kiss you good night.
It's a simple thing because everyone just wants to feel heard. It's like, I worked in, customer services for a very long time in my previous life when I was a young person. And that's the one thing you learned for, conflict resolution is allow the person to be angry, allow them to get things off their chest. Because once you start trying to argue and say, then, their stress levels goes up. But the more they can offload, then their stress, the cortisol levels goes down. Then you're in a position to have a reasonable conversation. But until they feel heard, it's not going to happen. And it's the same in relationships. Men just need to learn, just listen. Don't fix me. I don't want solutions. Just listen. Just listen to what I have to say.
Exactly. And so imagine that for someone whose deal breaker is cheating, and then you go cheat. and come, and you expect that person to give you a good night kiss before the person goes to sleep.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But
Exactly.
if you have resolved things and you've talked about it and you have made a decision, well, you know what, I'm not happy what's happened. You've got a lot of making up to do. I'm just saying that in a joking way. But if you've resolved things and you've decided, okay, we're going to make a go of this relationship, you know,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn to forgive what's happened.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, that it's a myth. That thing of don't go to bed angry and kiss yourself before you go, it's a myth, because when people are angry.
I think it's just a metaphor, though. I think it's just a metaphor for, deal with things at the time, but don't allow them to go on and on and on and on. And then, like some people have arguments and we say, well, I remember in 1988, the sun was shining, the trees were, blowing in the wind, and you said this and you did this and you did that. And you're like, can't even remember what I did yesterday. Never mind going back to the 80s. You have to learn to let things go.
So as I was saying, you now have to allow the people to process their anger. Yes. And so when they're angry, allow them to process their anger, allow them to have their pace. Sometimes it's important to even give them their space, because the more you try to even explain yourself, the more the anger will even boil up. So sometimes you need to allow them space and time to process their anger. After they process their anger, then you can move on. But sometimes when you're not trying to force things, when they are still processing their anger, it's like trying to brush the problem under the carpet. It's like trying to make light of the situation. Because like I said earlier, to someone, some things are deal breakers. You lied to me, it's a deal breaker. So when you have lied to me, allow me to process it. You've explained yourself. I have addressed it. You have explained yourself. Fine. Now allow me to process the explanation that you have given. And then after I have processed it, then we cannot become touchy, huggy, kisses. But if you have explained yourself and I'm yet to process my anger, and you now want to be touchy, kissy, it's like you're trying to bribe me, or you're trying to make light what I'm trying to address. And that's why I would not necessarily say mandatorily, like you're saying, it's a metaphor, but people don't take it as a metaphor. People take it literal as it comes. Don't go to bed angry. So I've offended you and now you're angry. Are we going to go to bed angry? It doesn't work that way. I would say don't overly expand your anger period. Because the longer you hold on to the anger, you will start drifting apart.
Yes. Because if things are not resolved, it's almost like a domino effect. It's kind of like there's residue from that, that time, and then there's a little bit more from the next time and the next time, the next time. And so, we talked about the magic earlier. And so then that magic has been broken.
So basically, what I propose, and I propose always, is this. Number one, you communicate your expectations as and when it comes up. Communicate them clearly, not in a commanding, demanding tone, but in an understanding and empathetic tone. Communicate it healthily, and then let your partner understand why you have those concerns or why you have those expectations. And then both of you should now agree on the way forward with that. As in when it comes up, make sure you communicate it. But ultimately, before you commit to any relationship, make sure that you understand what moves the person and what drives the person. Yes. If you meet today and you guys decide to have sex, detach the sex from the relationship. You are having sex because both of you are matured adults and you are doing what you want to do, but the sex should not be the measure for a committed relationship.
No, absolutely.
Because relationship is not really about sex.
No.
You can have good sex and have a bad relationship, and you can have a good relationship and have bad sex.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
So sex should not be the measure for the relationship. Because even when you go into a relationship proper, you cannot have good sex when you don't feel good about each other. And so if you guys meet today, tomorrow, whatever, and in 3 days, in 4 days, you have your first date and you want to kiss and have sex, make sure you do your sex, you enjoy yourself or endure yourself, whatever it is. But that shouldn't be the yardstick for the relationship. Only commit to the relationship when you understand the person's belief system and you know that you can live with it.
Yes.
Because the belief system determines their actions. You cannot determine all their actions from the beginning, but
No.
once you understand what drives them, at least it gives you a good understanding of what you can expect from them and what you cannot expect from them.
Yes, so keep your eyes open, everyone.
100%. Don't take things for granted. And this is what I propose. The first 3 months of every relationship, or most relationship, is usually the fantasy acting stage. Both of you are acting it. There are very few people who are very real from the word go.
Yes.
The majority of the people, they are just acting. I'm doing what will make you like me, you're doing what will make you like me.
And they'll pretend they like the same food as you. I mean, they might not even like consciously be doing that. But for those first 7 to 8 weeks, it is very much like that. It's like, oh yeah, I like football. Oh, I don't mind vegetarian food. Oh yeah, I'll eat a steak. But then, things change after.
Yeah. And those are the reactions of dopamine in your brain.
Yeah.
It's just like drug. You have been drugged. You have taken ecstasy and you are in high spirit. You're all excited. It's just like ecstasy. You're all in the mood of excitement. And so every decision that you take around that time is determined by that mood of excitement.
Well, it's an addiction as well.
But when the drug is faded off, when the dopamine is faded off, that is where the reality stares you in the face. That is where your eyes open. And that is where you now begin to see the person for who they truly are. But remember, by the time the dopamine settles, you have already made serious commitments.
Yes. You might be pregnant by then. You might have had a baby by then.
Yeah. So now you want to now justify. So that is when now you start making excuses for the person's actions. Because you are now trying to marinate and try to the situation because you've already made serious commitment within the period of dopamine action.
And so of course, you don't want your parents, you don't want to hear your parents say, I told you so.
Exactly. So I always tell people, don't commit to a relationship within the first 3 months of meeting the person.
Yes.
Enjoy the dopamine reactions of both of you. Enjoy the calls. Enjoy the text messages, enjoy the food, enjoy the roses, enjoy the dates, enjoy whatever comes with it. But do not make commitments.
Until you're sure.
Until you're sure.
Now, you're going to see somebody in lots of different situations, haven't you? It's almost like a relationship should have a full season. You should have like a full winter together, a full summer together, birthday together, Christmas together, holidays together, time with family together, before you should make that sort of commitment.
The patterns. Observe the patterns, which I believe the belief system before you commit. If you have not seen the patterns, do not commit. If you have not seen the belief system, do not commit. If it will take you 1 year, 2 years to see the patterns, do not commit to the relationship. This is one reason why I believe that in the days of old, we had the dating season. Yes. And then we had the courtship season before we had the marriage. So the dating is where you meet and you chat, observing each other. Once you have observed each other and you now have seen the patterns, you now have seen the belief system, then you can now commit. And that's where you go to the courtship season where you now become exclusive, if you put it that way. And then that is at the point you now start planning the marriage proper, and you now start planning children and all that, because now you know what moves the person now know what moves you, and you know that you can grow together and build together. In today's world, we jump from 0 to 100. We meet today and tomorrow we're already exclusive. And this is one reason why a lot of relationships are not working today and marriages are breaking up.
Exactly, because the ingredients, the magic ingredients haven't been, fully mixed, if you know what I mean. People are just taking, like you say, people are, going by attraction. It's like, oh, I can't wait to take your clothes off. I must be in love.
Yeah. So I always tell people that we need to define love in its proper sense of love.
Yes, not the fairy tale.
We need to stop confusing like, attraction, admiration, infatuation, lust to love. All these things may look alike from the beginning stages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, admiration, infatuation, lust, and everything, they all look alike. They will look very much alike.
But they're very different levels, aren't they?
Not exactly. During the beginning stages, when you meet the person, they look very much alike. You cannot tell whether it's lust, whether it's like, whether it's infatuation, whether it's admiration, you cannot usually tell during the early stages of the relationship. Or
because
not
you
even
have the
during the early stages
explosion, aren't you?
Yes. And that is why you need to give yourself time to know whether you just like the person, you just admire the person, it was just an infatuation, you just wanted to have sex with the person, or you truly love the person. And love is only determined over time. This is one of the reasons why they say that love grows. Because the more you receive kindness from the person, empathy, patience, and tolerance, the more you bond.
Yes.
These things you can only see over time. You can only experience over time and not immediately. So everything you feel the first time you met the person, it's not love. It could be lust, it could be infatuation, it could be admiration, it could be like, but it's definitely not love.
No. And talking about time, I think we've run out of time, Ben.
Definitely.
It's been an amazing conversation as always.
Yeah.
So if our listeners want to know more, we'll leave the links underneath so they can contact you, read your books, and ask us any questions. So thank you so much for today. I always enjoy our conversation so much. I always, forget the time. I'm like, oh my God, it's an hour.
Yes, indeed. We all do. But for anyone who wants to reach me, they just have to Google the Apostle of Change, either one word or separately. Once you Google the Apostle of Change, or you Google my name, Benjamin Tagoe, you're going to have all my information pop up on Google, and it will take you to my links to my books and all to all my social media handles. So just Google hashtag the Apostle of Change or the Apostle of Change, and information about me is going to pop up everywhere.
Great. Well, great wisdoms you've been giving us, Ben, and I encourage people to buy that book, for the sake of a very small price. There'll be wisdoms in there that can really help you with your relationship. Keep you on the right track.
My latest book is one of the most controversial books, which says no one loves without a condition. That is one of my latest book. It's quite controversial because, remember, we've been told about unconditional love. You need to love unconditionally. Yes. And I tell people,
the only unconditional love that exists is the love between a person and their dog. That's the only unconditional love that exists. Everything else is conditional.
That is even conditional as long as the dog doesn't damage your stuff in the home, and as long as it doesn't poo everywhere, and as long as it doesn't bark unnecessarily, that love will continue to grow. So even the love between you and your dog still has conditions.
Well,
as long as you continue to feed it, hug it, and treat it well, it will continue to cuddle you. But if you fail to do that,
a dog it's got like unconditional loyalty. Have you heard the story? And it's set in Scotland, but it's a true story. And there's lots of other examples whereby an owner of the dog had died. And there's actually a statue of that dog in Edinburgh. And so every night that dog would go to the graveyard, he would lie on his owner's grave, and he would stay there all night guarding his owner. And then in the morning he would toddle off back to, where he was, being looked after. And he continued to do that until the day he died.
Yeah, that is not necessarily unconditional loyalty. The dog is doing that based on how the owner treated it whilst the owner was alive. Because every living being responds to how you treat them. If a particular dog has been coming to your house and anytime they come, you throw a stone at them, eventually they'll stop coming. But if they come and you treat them well, you give them food to eat, and you show them care, they will keep coming. And eventually they will start protecting you. So even plants respond to care. If you don't care well for your plants, they're going to die. So when it comes to love, it is always conditional.
But usually a dog will only have one master, and it doesn't matter, how many people are nice to them. They know who the master is, and their loyalty is to that master.
It is always based on how the master treats them. If the master does not treat them well, eventually they will leave or they will die off. Let me give you an example and then we can go off. Just someone very close to me. Okay. There are 2 dogs in the house, right? I visit them every now and then. Now, the dog doesn't like going close to the man of the house. Why? Because the man of the house is always kicking it, shouting at it. So even though he brought the dog to the house.
Yeah, but he's not their master. You see, they know who their master is, and it's obviously not.
What I'm saying is, he brought the dog to the house.
Yes,
but that
doesn't make him the master, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you, that even the love between the dog and whoever has conditions, and the condition is how you treat the dog. And I'm giving the example that this man I'm talking about brought the dog to the house, but the dog is not close to him because of how he treats the dog. The dog is closer to the wife because of how she treats the dog, because she feeds the dog, she pampers the dog. So the dog is closer to the wife. So anytime he sees the man, he moves away from the man to the wife. Why? Because of how they individually treat him. So
yes, but it's also
animals,
because in the dog's eyes, she's like the master.
Exactly. So the love and the care that the dog is given is still conditioned on how you treat it. I don't know if you saw the video of the lion and the one who rescued it. You should go online. You see, there's a video about a lion. There was this man who rescued a cub. He rescued a cub and took care of the cub to a certain age, and then they released the cub into the wild. And then one of the days, I think about a year or 2 or so later, they decided to do a reunion. And when the lion saw this guy, he jumped at him, licking it and whatever, and everybody was shocked because it still remembers how it treated it. So it's always conditioned on how you treat them.
I saw something similar. It was about like chimpanzees, where the researcher had spent time with the chimpanzee, rescued him, blah blah blah, and then it was years. I mean, absolutely years later, when this chimpanzee had become an adult. He had a partner, he had children, and they went past, and the chimpanzee saw it was him and knew it was him, and he stood over him all night long to like
Exactly.
protect him. And this was like years and years later. So,
Exactly. So, in my final statement, I want everyone who is watching us to know that every single thing on this earth has got conditions.
yes.
And
So
once you meet the conditions, it will serve you well. Plants, animals, cars, buildings, human beings, every single thing. Because if you pour water into your gas tank, your car is going to break down.
yes.
As long as you pour gasoline in there and you give it its oil, it's going to run well. So remember, even your car, if you don't give your car tender loving care, your car will break down on you eventually. Every single thing on this earth has the conditions. Know the conditions, meet the conditions, and you guys may be good for a long time to come.
Great. Good advice, Ben.
Thank you very much for having me once again.
You're welcome. Good to see you. Bye.
Until next time, shalom.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for striding by yet another episode with us. We hope that you are enjoying all our hints, tips, and of course, our lovely guests. If you would like to join our Facebook community, then please do. You can get all the details in the link below. We'd love to hear from you, hear your stories, any questions, any help that you might need. And please do give us all your stories. We are here to listen.